After the long wait, Boeing Starliner is finally back on Earth. This time, however, its NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are missing. While Elon Musk's SpaceX has kept a reputable name in the aerospace market with its so-called twin of the Starliner, the Dragon, Boeing has only crawled, and that painfully, to this first ever crewed mission with the Starliner. Now Boeing is under fire. What went wrong with the Starliner? Why is it back without its crew? Most importantly, is there hope for the Starliner? For Boeing? Today we answer all these questions and more as we expose every detail of the SpaceX-Boeing clash and learn why we might never see the Starliner on a launch pad. Get comfortable and welcome to the Space Minds channel. Now, we know the aerospace giant Boeing has left quite the name in the airplane market. In the last decade, however, concerns have grown around the safety of its vehicles. These same concerns were extended to the Starliner, Boeing's first and only spacecraft so far. The Starliner was built to rival SpaceX's Dragon capsule, which is quite a magnificent spacecraft, if you ask me. The Starliner's design is actually really amazing. Built to be a reusable capsule, it is designed for crewed missions and thus has a crew module and a service module. The service module is something like the engine house of the spacecraft, and the crew module can conveniently take up to 7 people. Its body is covered with an Avcoat heat shield, a material specially designed by Boeing for their spacecraft. Its thrusters, though, incomparable to SpaceX's Raptor engines, are considerably good too, being only a few thrust powers behind the Raptors. An advantage the Starliner has over SpaceX's Starship is that the Starliner, is designed to land both on land and on water, whereas the Starship is designed to only make splashdowns. Another would be that while the Starliner can be launched atop a wide variety of boosters, the Starship can only be launched with its custom-made booster, the Super Heavy. The Starliner is also designed to be somewhat faster than Starship, an advantage it acquired automatically due to its simple structure, launching requirements, and its reusability. The Starliner's history, however, has been a sob story, with only a few sparks of success. Also called the CST-100, it was built in 2014 at almost twice the cost of SpaceX's Dragon. Initially, the Starliner was planned to go operational in 2017, but was delayed for another 2 years because of problems with management and engineering. These were only the beginning for Boeing's misery. Fortunately, the Starliner made its orbital flight test in December 2019. Unfortunately, it ended as a partial failure, resulting in the need for a second flight test. The second flight test met with a lot of unprecedented happenings, including faults with the propulsion system, incorrect fitting of valves, thruster capacity tests also happened, and the Starliner vehicle had to be rolled back to harbour for a body rework. Anyway, after a year's worth of delay, NASA and Boeing heaved a thumbs up. On May 19, 2022, the second flight test happened. Even though this was a really good record for Boeing, as they successfully docked on the ISS and also returned back to Earth without any obvious damage, something did happen. 2 of the 12 OMAC thrusters failed just after ignition. Despite this issue, NASA and Boeing got the green light to perform the first crewed mission of the Starliner a year later. This mission, consisting of NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, didn't quite go as planned. In fact, you could call it a Starliner disaster. Contrary to expectations, the Starliner became a disgrace after it launched in June 2024. For a mission intended only to be days long, the Starliner only became a horror, even to its crew. Launched for an 8-day mission to the ISS and back to Earth, the Starliner capsule had a smooth launch, an easy separation, and a great travel out of Earth's orbit. Everything was all good, all going as planned. Sadly, the silver lining came to a sharp end real fast. Just before the crew's sleep time, Mission Control on ground notified that 3 helium leaks had occurred on different sides of the propulsion system. If you don't know how dangerous this is, realize that inhaling excess helium can cause death from a lack of oxygen in just a few minutes. Anyway, the control team had to speedily seal off these helium leaks in an attempt that disabled 6 of the 28 thrusters of the Starliner. Then again, a 4th leak happened. It doesn't end there. While attempting to dock on the ISS, 5 more thrusters of the Starliner went dead. This was a wrong time, especially since a wrong attempt in docking on the ISS would risk both the ISS and the Starliner. The crew had to wait until the control team could revive 4 of these thrusters, an event that required restarting the thrusters multiple times. During this time, I believe Sunita and Wilmore were begging the heavens for a safe docking. Luckily, the Starliner was able to dock. Days after the docking, though, other issues happened, including an increased leak of helium gas, more thruster failures during tests, and also an incorrect fitting of an oxidizer valve. Let's face it, the Starliner's future is shaky. And how did the Starliner's 8-day journey turn into a 3-month stay? Well, let's hear it. The Starliner is finally back after 3 months of its docking on the ISS, arriving in the New Mexico desert on September 6, 2024. The landing was unexpectedly smooth, being headed by parachutes and thrusters as it got close to Earth. But as we all know, while the shuttle did land at the landing site, when it opened, there was no crew. Sunita and Wilmore were not on the Starliner on its return, and here's why. Well, NASA and Boeing had decided on a return trip for the Starliner. However, without its crew, it would be deadly. Considering the irregular mishaps with the Starliner, placing the crew on the return trip would be placing them in grave danger. This makes the Starliner the first spacecraft to leave space with a crew and come back without them. Certainly not the best to have on a Guinness World Record. So, what fate waits in store for astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams? Will they be left roaming on the ISS? Well, certainly not. NASA, together with Boeing, plan on taking a really big step to call on Elon Musk for help. NASA is considering returning its Starliner astronauts from the ISS with SpaceX's Dragon by February 2025, over half a year after the initially planned 8-day trip. This definitely wouldn't be a good record for the Starliner. It would make it clear that SpaceX is superior over Boeing in the space business. Now we see why Elon Musk is laughing. Boeing is about to bow to his SpaceX. With the Starliner's record of failures and faults, and with the unfortunate results of its first crewed flight, I would imagine that Boeing will be taking their time with the Starliner. We might not see Starliner for a while, and while it's behind eyes view, we would imagine again that Boeing is working really hard to beat SpaceX. Even if the Starliner gets back on its feet, it would be way behind SpaceX, as Elon Musk seems to be thinking at the speed of light. SpaceX's Starship is way above the level of Starliner, and while Boeing is still trying to perfect its thrusters and the software, SpaceX is already working on vertical landing of its Super Heavy booster on the Mechazilla and upping the design of the Starship. These are the only ones we know, and Boeing's Starliner is way behind them. Anyway, the Starliner would face a series of tests, bodywork, thruster change, and probably a software update even. Probably, with these, the spacecraft can bounce back to being the glory of Boeing, saving them from being an elaborate shame. These, however, would not come easy. We'll see more uncrewed test flights maybe a year from now, maybe 2. We can't say, but surely I don't think this could be the end of the aerospace giant. Let's wait for Boeing's comeback. The unspoken war between Boeing and SpaceX has long existed, probably for decades now. Both sides, especially SpaceX, have worked to be better than their opponents. This is reflected in their recent vehicles like the Falcon, Dragon, Starship, and the Starliner. Even though SpaceX seems to make Elon Musk proud by being ahead, Boeing has done a great fit in keeping its name well known in the aerospace market, despite only having created the Starliner. While you might look at this as Boeing being unproductive, understand that the Starliner has the capacity of beating the Falcon vehicles of SpaceX and stands as a potential competitor against the Dragon spacecraft. That's guts, if you ask me. Yet, of course, Boeing has to do better if it wants to match SpaceX or even surpass them. We all agree that Starliner isn't enough, even if it becomes perfect. Yet, still, it's a good start. So, is the SpaceX-Boeing clash over? I don't think so. Unless Boeing reclaims its name in the aerospace market, SpaceX could claim being winners. However, it will only last up until Boeing's comeback. Yet, with plans of the ISS facing its decommissioning by late 2030, the question that puzzles our minds is short and simple. How soon can Boeing Starliner prove itself and make that comeback? With that, we've come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Space Minds for the latest updates on our space news and adventures.